So for your supplies, besides a sewing machine and an iron, you're gonna need a waterproof layer. Today I'm gonna use Pull. I will link below Softshell Fleece. That's also a great alternative for your waterproof layer. And then I'm gonna be using flannel for the core. I'm gonna be making a light or a panty liner today, so I don't need anything that's really extreme for absorbency. If you wanted something to make like a moderate, heavy, or an overnight, then you could use heavy organic bamboo fleece, and I will link that below for you guys. And then for your topper and your back topper, which is kind of hard to explain, so I'm just gonna grab this already made exposed core. The way an exposed core works is this is the back topper, and this is the front topper. That's what I'm gonna refer to them as, just so you guys can follow along. So this is your backer fabric, right? This is the waterproof layer, and this is Softshell Fleece. So this is different than the Pull material, but they both work really well. So for this video, this is gonna be the back topper, and this is going to be the top topper. So I hope you guys can follow along with that. But the way an exposed core works is not much different than a hidden core. The only real difference is that it has this little bit of a lip here, and some find that catches their flow better. And then they also just like the way that it feels and it fits. But I find that as far as, just using it for your period, it really works all the same. It just is prettier. So this is gonna be the material I'm gonna use for the top topper, so this part right here. And then this is gonna be the material that I'm using for this back topper. Usually I don't put two strong prints together, but since I'm gonna be keeping this for myself, benefit of being able to sew them, I'm gonna use this one for the back and just make it really fun and have lots of fun and wild, colorful floral prints going. And then you'll also need some pins, a pen, an orange peeler, which you'll see us use later, and some scissors. And some other supplies you're gonna need are some cam snaps. You can get these on Amazon. I really highly suggest that you don't get the ones that are cheap. If it seems like it's too good to be true on a deal, it's probably too good to be true because your snaps are gonna break really easy. So I will link some snaps for you below, some quality ones that I use all the time and work really well. And these are size 20. And then you'll also need the pliers and the awl that come with it, but I'll make sure I'll link what you need below for that. Let's talk about patterns real quick. The shop that I'm gonna be linking to this video, she just seems to be my favorite. I've tried other shops and they were really good too, but Versodile on Etsy is just my favorite shop to use. I like her patterns and how easy they are to use, and you can just print them out from home on your computer. So this is what they look like when you print them out. This is a 3-inch wide, and I'm actually gonna be making a 2.5-inch width. That's just the width that goes right in the center of your underwear. It just really depends on what you like. I like the 2.5, but you can see here that it's well labeled. She's got this right here, it says 3-inch. And then what's nice is that these are actually separate pieces. So this is like the front, the back, and then the center piece with the snaps. And you can pick and choose. So if you want like a larger flare on the back and a small one on the front, maybe you're a back bleeder or vice versa, then you can just decide what you want. And then this pattern, you can see here, it says double snap. So it's actually made for 2 snaps. And the one I'm gonna be using today is made for 1. And then you can also print out the core. So this is where the core, if you're doing a hidden core, you could use that for a core. Or she doesn't have any patterns, I don't believe, for exposed core. But what you could do is just put this on a piece of paper and just kind of trace a little bit larger than what it is, and that would work for your exposed core. But today I'm gonna be using my own pattern, and you can see I've used this a ton. You can see all my pen marks here, but I needed another 8-inch, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use this one. And then I made this, just like I told you here, from the core pattern. I had drawn this out and then made it just a little bit larger to fit on the exposed core. And you guys can decide, let's pull this out again. You guys can decide, how close you want your exposed core to be from the edge. So if you don't want it to be quite that close to the edge, you want it to be a little bit smaller, then just make it smaller. But that's the fun part, is you guys get to choose what you want to have. So this is the template that we're going to use for our exposed core topper, and then also for the other pieces. So let's do the topper first. And I'm just gonna pick this really pretty fabric, and I'm gonna just decide, I'm gonna put the pretty sides together, and we're just gonna kind of go for it and see what it gives us. So just do like so. And then I'm gonna take my template for the exposed part and a pen, and I'm just gonna trace this out. And it's really important that when you cut this out, you do not want to cut on the line. So don't come through here with your scissors and cut on this line, okay? You wanna give some generous space. I'm probably gonna cut like somewhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch, but you just want to be able to give yourself some room there. But this is actually your sew line, so this is what you're going to be sewing. And cut it out real quick. Doesn't have to be super fancy or nice, because none of this outside part is going to show. And these scissors, so since I've been doing miniatures, you guys will see on my channel, and other crafty stuff, I've used my sewing scissors for other things. Listen to that. Oh, terrible. Need to get some new sewing scissors. Okay, so now we've got the fabric picked out. This is important to remember, okay? Here's our core material. If you want, so say these are turned right sides facing together, right? So the pretty sides are on the inside. If you want this pattern that's on this side to be the one that shows on your exposed core, then it needs to be like this, okay? And the reason why, take these out and be real careful. So let's lay our flannel out. The reason why is because the way that it works when we construct the exposed core is that we're gonna sew this all the way around. There's gonna be no hole for turning inside out. And then we're just gonna kind of separate the layers, make a slit, and the hole for turning will actually be right here, but it'll only be through this layer. Okay, so it's not gonna be through this layer of fabric here. It's just gonna be through this layer, and that's gonna be our turning hole. That way it looks really nice, so remember that. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, this is the really pretty fabric that I want, and then you sew it like that with the core material, whatever you're using to the back, this is actually gonna be what's upside down. So I hope that made sense, but that is from personal experience. So I know that this is the part that I want to show on my exposed core because it's got this pretty flower here. So I'm just gonna turn that like so, lay it out, and then you're just gonna pin it to your core material. And I'm just using one layer of flannel because I'm just making a panty liner. So go ahead and just cut around it. These scissors are terrible. Okay. And then I'm just gonna go to the machine, and I'm gonna use a 3.0 stitch length, and make sure you back stitch when you start and stop, and I'm just gonna go all the way around. I'll meet you guys back here. Okay, now that we've sewed all the way around, we're just gonna cut this out. Just leave like 1/4 inch all the way around. So now you can see here we've got the core material on the back. And what we're gonna do is grab just the top layer. I'm gonna try to get close in for this one, see if I can zoom. So we wanna just grab, so now I can feel that I just have one layer here, okay? Then just take your time on this, don't rush through. This side has the other piece of cotton and then our core material. So I can feel that. So all I'm gonna do, make a tiny slit, and then just make a hole big enough to turn this inside out. And then this is where the orange peeler comes in handy. If you guys have something else you want to use, that's cool too. Press this out. And it's not really wrinkled too much. With the panty liners, there's not a lot of layers that are trying to bunch up in there, so it's not too bad. But I'm just gonna kind of finger press this. If you notice there's any places that are wanting to tuck in, just flip it back over and go in with your orange peeler and just push those out. That looks pretty. So see back here, this is where the hole is, and nobody's gonna see that because it's gonna be all sewn in. Okay, so then to do our back topper, we're gonna come through, we're gonna lay the pretty side down, and we're gonna grab our template, and we're just gonna lay it on here and decide. I mean, most of this is gonna be covered. You know, there isn't a lot showing here. It's just mostly the wings and like a little bit on the edge. So just kind of decide where you want it. And I'm just gonna, I want a little bit of that green in there, so I'm just gonna hold it here and then grab my pen and trace all the way around. And again, this is gonna be your sew line, this line that you're making. So this is not your cut line, don't cut on it. You want to cut about 1/4 to 1/2 inch away. So what I'm gonna do is grab my pull layer, and this is actually gonna be my waterproof layer, and it's gonna be the backer to my pad. So on here, this is Softshell Fleece, so it kind of acts as a waterproof layer, and it's got this really nice soft backer. Some cloth pad makers will make a cloth pad that has this layer and then the exposed core layer, and then the waterproof layer, and then another piece of like flannel or cotton or something on the very back, so that you don't have this pull layer. But I find that this pull layer isn't bad. This is the shiny part that's going to be your waterproof layer inside that you won't see, and this is the side you're going to see that's going to be against your underwear. So I'm just going to take my piece that I just cut out, and I'm going to lay this shiny side down. So the waterproof layer is the side that you want to have down. And I'm just going to lay this on top. This is pretty side down. So shiny side down, pretty side down. Okay, and then we're just going to throw a few pins in here. You can put this on the outside of your line if you'd like. I don't find that the pins really affect the pull too much. I mean, if you went through here and just went crazy with really big pins, then yeah, I guess it would put tiny holes in it. But I've been using pull for 5 years, making cloth pads and incontinence underwear and children's pull-ups and you know, washable pull-ups, and I just haven't found that it's made a big deal. Okay, so we went through and we've sewn right here on our sew line. We went all the way around. There's no gaps, there's no openings. And now we're just going to cut this out. And I would cut maybe like 1/4 of an inch away. You want to be really careful not to hit your stitching. And now right here on the corners, we're just going to come in. Do not hit your stitching, okay? Be really careful, because you will cry. I've hit the stitching before and I was like, no. So you just want to come right in here, don't hit your stitching, and you're just going to make a cut. We're going to do it again here. And all this is so when we turn it the right side out, it lays flat and it's all really nice. Any of this extra bulk here that you find around that you want to get rid of, or strings, go ahead and get rid of them. Okay, and now same thing we did with our top piece. Now we've got 2 layers here. We're just pulling these apart, right? So we're sure not to cut into our pull. And we're just gonna make a slit, and then just a slit big enough to turn this inside out. What's fun though is that with this exposed core, you can pick any coordinating fabrics that you want to go together. So you can pick, like for this color, you know, I could have done like a nice purple or a blue or a green, but I just wanted to do something really colorful and fun. Okay, so I'm gonna take this to the ironing board real quick and give it a good press. Okay, so now we've got both of these pressed and ready to go. And we can see here that our little opening of where we turned it is here, and then our opening is here, okay? So we wanna make sure that we put this opening, for the, you know, the wrong side of our topper, down against here, and you just kind of decide where you want it. So I'm just gonna lay this on here, and yeah, I think that looks good. And then I'm gonna take a few pins, and I'm just gonna go like this. And I just wouldn't get crazy with the pins. I haven't had any trouble with any leaking using pins, but if you guys have any kind of like wonder clips, that would work really well too. The bigger your pad is and the more layers that you have inside here, like if you're doing a heavy, I don't even make past heavy in an exposed core. If you go up to like an overnight, it's just too thick for my machine. If I had like an industrial machine, I could totally do it. But for my machine to handle these 2 layers of cotton and the core flannel that's inside, and then the layer here of cotton, and then the backer, you know, it's just like too much. So I only go up to about a heavy, which a heavy I would do like 5 or 6 layers of flannel, which I think is really bulky and I don't like the flannel. So I just use the heavy organic bamboo fleece that I've linked below. You can use that, and you can just do 2 layers of that, or 3 layers, but it's a lot thinner and it absorbs really nice. But for a panty liner, the flannel works really good. So I'm just gonna take this to the machine, and I'm just gonna pick a place to start. You can start anywhere you want. I'm just gonna start like here, and I'm gonna do 1/4 of an inch away from this top piece. And I'm just gonna stitch all the way around, making sure that I back stitch when I start and stop. Okay, so now you're gonna need these pliers and all that we talked about at the beginning. I went ahead and grabbed, let me focus in for you guys, you can see these. I went ahead and grabbed 2 different colors. So this is the top, like the prong part, and then you have a male and a female end. So this male end sticks out and the female end has a little bit of a dip, and that's what creates the snap, and they go together. So grab your pad, and then you're gonna flip it over. And you're just gonna decide where you want these snaps to come together. So if you need like a really, maybe for a young lady, if you need them like a really small width, you could put it closer together. But I'm just gonna kind of naturally let these come down like that. And I'm gonna very carefully just pick this up so I'm not going through this part. And I'm just gonna stick this through. Don't get your finger, you will feel it. And now I've kind of made a hole there, so now I can come back through and just, and you're just making a hole to put these snaps in. Okay? And then go ahead and just take your pronged piece and stick it through the hole and hold it in. And you can see that it's sticking through here now. Let me zoom in for you guys so you can see that. Okay? And now I'm just gonna pick the female end. It doesn't matter which end you use first. Okay, and I gave that a good snap. You don't have to kill it with these, but like make sure, you know, you really get it, this little prong piece flat. Okay, and then what I do is if I'm looking at this, and this is, so here's the snap piece, and here's the flat piece to the cap. I just flip it over, and then I just put this in. Because I've before put them like on the same side, and then when you go to snap, like, it doesn't work. So, and then take your male end, you're just gonna get that in, put it together. So now, you hear that snap. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on this tutorial of how to make your own exposed core pad. This has been a long time coming, and I know you guys have been asking for it, but with all the stay-at-home stuff and the kids being home eternally, I just feel like I haven't really had the time to get certain requests done for videos. So I'm really glad that you joined me for this, and I want to see what you guys do. So leave me a picture and a comment in my Facebook group or on Instagram, or you can leave a comment here if there's something else that you want to see sewn. I hope you guys have a good day. See you on the next video. Bye.